The people of Gaza are being told to move like human pinballs. I urge the Council to spare no effort to push for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire.
Why is it only now that you have woken up and not when Hamas caused the previous pause to collapse? If this Council wants to see a ceasefire, start by demanding it from Hamas, the party that broke the past two.
That's footage of the United Nations right now holding an emergency meeting as the war in Gaza enters its third month. The Secretary General there invoking a rare move by asking the Council to vote emergency style on a ceasefire today. It comes as Israel releases evidence Hamas is now operating inside humanitarian zones. Emily Schrader is a journalist and a human rights expert who has been covering the war closely and extensively since the beginning. She joins me now. Emily, that was footage of Secretary Guterres there calling for a ceasefire. He could just as easily be calling for Hamas to release the remaining hostages it's holding captive.
Well, you're exactly right. I think even further than that, the UN really should be calling on Hamas for an unconditional surrender. This goes so far beyond just the hostage conflict. And if you want to talk about the rights of Palestinians, where was the UN? Where was the EU? Where were all of the superpower countries when it came to the rights of Palestinians that are being systematically violated by Hamas? Suddenly, when Israel has to defend itself, it seems to be the only time that they care about Palestinian lives. I mean, the hypocrisy is just mind-boggling. And, you know, it's the same thing that we've seen in recent weeks from other UN bodies like the UN Women, who were completely silent for almost 2 months about the rape and sexual assault that was, in fact, so brutal. Some women had their pelvises broken, and yet no one felt compelled in the UN Women organization to condemn this or to speak out against it until there was an entire campaign pressuring. The hypocrisy is unacceptable.
I mean, indeed, we're learning more now from the IDF and Israeli law enforcement. A lot of women most women, they say, who were raped and sexually assaulted by Hamas on October 7th are not able to speak publicly about what happened to them because they are, in fact, dead. They died either while being raped or soon thereafter. The atrocities are quite difficult to fathom. Take a listen to this roundup of some prominent American women speaking out this week.
Do we believe the women whose bodies tell us how they spent the last minutes of their lives?
It is outrageous that some who claim to stand for justice are closing their eyes and their hearts to the victims of Hamas.
When I saw the list of women's rights organizations who have said nothing, I nearly choked.
Emily, it took Secretary Guterres himself 55 days to even acknowledge that Hamas had carried out sexual atrocities on October 7th. And when he did, he acknowledged it in a tweet.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, as I mentioned, this is just typical UN hypocrisy, what we've seen from them for many years. And the mistake that many people are making here is they are equating the Israeli-Palestinian conflict with what occurred on October 7th. What occurred on October 7th wasn't a military campaign. It wasn't a war to defend the rights of Palestinians or to claim a Palestinian state. It was targeting civilians intentionally, including men, women, and children, with torture, with murder, with sexual assault as a weapon, which, by the way, is a crime against humanity. And this is a known tactic not only of Hamas, the Islamist terrorist organization, but also of their parent body, the Islamic Republic of Iran, which a new report has just come out from Amnesty International, in fact, about rape as a method, about sexual assault as a method by the Iranian regime. And I have to tell you, reading the testimonies from survivors of sexual assault by the Islamic Republic of Iran is disturbingly similar to the tactics which we saw Hamas use. And honestly, it's no surprise given the fact that the Islamic Republic of Iran funds Hamas with $100 million a year.
Emily, we got to leave it there. We're expecting a vote sometime in the afternoon, could be as late as 5 o'clock today on the ceasefire. We'll bring that to everybody at home as it happens. Emily, thanks so much.
Thank you.
John?